Hello, my name is Jacqueline Pollauf, and today I wanted to share a quick repair tip about adjusting the discs for the bass wire strings. Sometimes I find that when I'm playing one of the wire strings in the sharp position specifically, the string will sound a bit dull and it won't have that problem in the other positions. And I've discovered that there's a simple repair you can do to the disc, just adjusting it a small amount to alleviate that problem. So this issue is quite a subtle one. It really has to do with the quality of the sound not being quite as good as it could be. And I've been noticing this recently on my harp with this C string here, my 6th octave C, when it's in the sharp position. So for comparison, we'll start with it in flat where the string sounds great. And then if I put it into natural, it's still a very nice clear sound. And then if I put it into sharp, it's a subtle difference, as I mentioned, but it's like the string is a little bit more dull or not quite as resonant or full as it could be. Whereas by contrast, if I play my D string here in sharp, that's still a very clear, full sound. And there it just has a little bit less of, I guess, kind of the sheen that we might want on the sound. Now, if with your wire strings you're experiencing a lot of buzzing or twanging, that is separate from this, a different issue that we're not going to address today. In looking at the action here, you can see that there are different types of discs. So here for these gut strings, all of the discs have 2 metal prongs, and those grip the string when engaged. But down here for the wire strings, those prongs are covered in a little bit of coating. I think it's a plastic that's used. And that's just so that when those discs are engaged, we don't have metal on metal. A metal prong plus a metal string would be very noisy. So if we take a look at this D string here for an example, here the D right now is in the flat position. So it's starting here and ringing all the way down. If I put the D in natural, those 2 prongs engage. And then if I put it in sharp, these 2 here engage. And what I've found that happens sometimes is that with the wire string being so abrasive, it can start to wear away just a tiny groove on this, this prong here, the plastic part of the prong. And when there's a little groove, then sometimes it's not gripping quite as well, and that's when you get the dullness to the sound. So all you have to do to solve this is to just rotate the entire plastic coating, so that way when the string is engaged, the way this D string is engaged, the wire string is hitting at a fresh part of the plastic where there's no abrasion, no groove, and then you're back to a really clear sound for the string. So it's quite difficult to see the abrasion because it's such a subtle feature. But if we look at the prong of the D disc here, you can see that everything looks great. It's all nice and smooth. There's no discoloration to the black. And then by contrast, if we look here at the prong to the C disc, right at the bottom, there's a little tiny sort of speck of white. And that actually is the start of that groove that we do not want. And it looks like it's on the bottom of the prong because actually when the disc rotates, that's what rests on the string there. And I think you might be able to see that little bit of white more easily with the disc in that position. Because this is difficult to see, you can also check for it by feel, just trying to feel if there's any roughness to the prong. So the fix for this is quite simple. All we're going to do is rotate the black plastic covering so that a different portion of it will rest on the string when it's engaged, and the string will no longer come into contact with that miniature groove. And to do this, I'm just going to use a pair of small pliers, the only tool needed today. And then all you need to do is get a good grip right on the covering to the prong in question, and then go ahead and rotate it a little ways. And usually when I'm doing this, I try to keep an eye on the little white spot or the groove, whatever it is I'm looking at, to make sure that I'm actually rotating and I'm not just turning my pliers without a good enough grip to make it turn. So now that we've completed the fix by rotating the plastic covering, We did not rotate the entire disc, just the covering. But now that we've done that, I'll go ahead and play the string with the pedal in sharp. And you can hear that it's just a smidgen, but it's a tiny bit fuller and richer and rounder, which makes me really happy, as this has been annoying me a lot in my practicing lately. If you're not sure whether or not this is going on with your wire strings, you could check to see whether you can see or feel an abrasion on one of those black plastic coverings. And then you could just try rotating the covering and then check again to see whether the sound has improved at all. I find that this is not terribly common. Just once in a while I'll have one string where usually I notice it in my practicing, and so then I take a couple minutes to make that rotation and the sound improves that tiny bit. As usual, I hope you've found this video interesting and helpful, and it's given you some good information about making that adjustment to the bass wire discs.